everybody. Welcome back to the show. Yes, it's your host, Chris Jefferson, here with another episode of A State of Loud. And if you guys saw the thumbnail, you guys know who my guest is. He's been a guest of this show multiple times over the years. We've had him on before you ran for office. We had you while you were during while you were running for office, and now we have you back here again while you're out in the community doing this thing all the time. You've probably seen him outside around Hoboken doing things down in Hudson County. He cares about your streets. He cares about the people. He cares about the things around him. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's your first time knowing him, please welcome to the show, Mr. Ron Bautista.
Thank you so much, Chris. Happy to be here.
Good to have you back, man. I feel like it's been a minute.
It's been a while.
It has, which is
different
crazy.
Setup also.
Oh yes. The new
AJ,
studio.
like a lot of different things going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been very fortunate to grow. I know the last time I had you here, I don't even remember what it was. Probably with a couch.
It was a couch
with like a bunch of random cameras and microphones. We made it work, but
it worked. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was cozy.
It was. Yes, that's a good word. Cozy. That's what realtors tell you when it's too small. But nah, man. It's good to have you back, man. I saw you out there. You had a really tight race that you ran for the last county election, which was pretty dope. Just seeing you back out there doing your thing, man. I'm always supportive of independent people just running out there to stand on their beliefs. So I like it. I always encourage people, get to know what the people are doing out there. You never know what your options are. But I'm going to say to you right now, like, what have you been up to, man? What are you up to now? That all that stuff's done. It's wintertime. It's springtime. What are we doing?
Well, I have a 7-month-old baby.
Oh, yes.
I have a baby girl. Her name is Aurora. I got big sister. 5-year-old, almost 6 now in May. So big sister's doing, a great job being a leader in the house, and just they love each other, and I'm grateful that I'm able to see that every day and spend just enjoy the ride. So it's been great, and also it's always about keep on showing up and being able to just stay on even after the campaign. We got really close. We only missed it by 200 votes. We did it with the limited resources that we had, and really, I always like to put it into perspective. It was within 7 years of being a U.S. citizen.
Which is wild, bro. Because for me, I thought it was longer than that. But you say 7 years, bro. Like, so literally, you get to this point. Like you I don't want to tell your whole story. I'm gonna let you tell your story. I know some of your story, but so let's take it back. Then I have so many questions. Could you start out with girl dad? I'm gonna start there before I go to the past.
Yeah,
girl dad times 2, correct?
Yeah.
Talk to me, bro. How is the dynamic in the household like with that?
No, it's a totally different animal, right?
Okay,
it's because you're so used to maneuvering things with just one girl.
Yes.
And then the baby comes along, and they look very similar when they're when the first one was a baby, but it's just totally different personalities. The way that my wife puts it is they look the same, just different flavor.
Yes.
Right? And so
Okay.
and so they're different. They're definitely different flavor.
Yeah.
I know they're gonna keep me on my toes. They already do.
Yeah.
But I'm just, it's exciting because they see me from the beginning the way I am already.
Yeah,
and the involvement in the community, I bring them along.
Yeah.
I love the interactions that I have with them and the conversations I'm having with the older one.
Okay.
The questions that she has.
Yeah.
She's, thank goodness for Coco, the movie.
Have
you seen it yet or
Coco
no?
Melon?
No. Man.
Oh, see, this is how I'm
There's
out of
Coco
style,
Melon,
bro.
but there's the movie Coco, which is about the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, yes.
And so this cartoon is perfect for having those conversations about what happens when your loved ones pass away.
Really?
And how do you keep their memories alive? Because then they stay with you and they come back to you.
Yeah.
And so because she saw that movie since she was younger, and there's a lot of music, and we have the conversations of my dad passed away a long time ago.
Yeah.
Never met him. She never met him. My wife's dad, he passed away a long time ago, way before she was born. My oldest brother, Tommy, he passed away when I was 6.
Wow.
And I have another older brother, Eddie, that he's still in Ecuador. He's 10 years older than me. And so having those conversations about the people who passed away, but keeping them present.
Wow.
she's like, okay, I know where my abuelito is. He's in heaven. I know where my grandpa Winnie is. He's in heaven. My tío Tommy, he's in heaven. But now she had the conversation about like, all right, well, abuelita, when she goes home, she goes to heaven. I was like, no, she doesn't.
Wow.
And she's like, but and I was like, all right, I know you haven't gone to abuelita's apartment in a while.
Yeah.
She's not going to. And then I call her. I'm like, are you okay? Is she having like a moment?
Is she saying something?
Something that we can?
Yo,
and then she's like, I'm fine. I'm at home, just relaxing. And then I was like, all right. So then I told her, I was like, mi amor, she's not. She has her own apartment. She's not in heaven.
Yeah,
and then she tells me, but how old is abuelita? And I said, 70 years old. So she's making the connections.
Yo.
You get older. At one point, when you go home, you go to heaven.
Wow. Yo.
I'm like, she's 5.
Seriously, bro. I don't, like, when I was 5, I didn't want to know any of that. Like, I didn't have that realization until I believe I was 8 years old. Maybe 8 or 10. I think maybe I was 8 or 10. I had that realization, like 5.
Yeah.
Bro. And she's calm about it.
And she's calm about it. She's like, yeah. So we raised her, my wife and I, in a very spiritual household. But it's also like having that connection with the ancestors too. And for us, ancestors also, loved ones who have been in our lives. So it's not just ancestors, people who we never met. It's people who are close to us, like my dad, my father-in-law, who I was lucky to meet. And so, having those tools and those stories that are able to tell, and those customs, because Coco is based on a culture in Mexico, a cultural moment in Mexico, and a philosophy in Mexico. We have Day of the Dead in Ecuador, but we don't celebrate it, or we don't have the storytelling that they had in Mexico. So I'm learning with her, and I'm like, I love that. I love those concepts that they live on through the memories that we are telling our other next generations.
Yes, sir. And you make such a good point. I love to hear that, because like you saying only like you haven't been in the U.S. your whole life. So you are making sure that you're bringing a lot of the culture and heritage in which you grew up with here to your children, even in America. And like, to me, it may sound weird, but like, to me, that's one of the greatest parts of like thinking about the U.S. is like, and I don't want to say it's just in major cities, but especially major cities where you have people from Ecuador, you have people from Puerto Rico, Peru, Spain, Portugal. Like, you have people from all over.
Now you gotta tell all the countries.
I know, right? I'm going to. But to that level, man, I love to hear it. Like, living in Hoboken, like really embodying the culture there. How do you go about ensuring that you still embody the cultures you grew up with to your children?
It's by celebrating all those cultures, right? And yes, there are specific celebrations. Like I started the flag racing of the Ecuadorian flag during Ecuadorian Heritage Month, right, in August, because that's when we're celebrating our independence. And so, me being able to say, all right, I want to celebrate my heritage. And nobody had done it, even though we had a smaller population of Ecuadorians, and it was a bigger population back in the day.
Yes, sir.
And I had Leonardo Campoverde, who he has now a grandson from Hoboken, but he came from Ecuador. So it's there's already 3 generations of Ecuadorians, and he's half Ecuadorian. His grandson is half Ecuadorian, half Filipino, just like my daughter is also half Ecuadorian, half Filipino.
Yes, sir.
And he came up to me and was like, we had a lot of Ecuadorians in the 70s in Hoboken, and we never did a flag raising. So it's a sense of pride. My daughter sees it, so then she's proud. And then when they ask her, and we have that conversation early on about identity. And what happens many times in our communities is, all right, well, is she more Ecuadorian or is she more Filipino? And I said, no, she's all of it. Yeah. She's American. Yeah. She's Ecuadorian and she's Filipino. Yeah. For some people, that's like breaking the structure of the way they see life. Yeah, yeah. Like, no. You have to pick one. And I'm like, no, I don't.
No, you don't. And I think that's a huge point, right? Yeah. In the U.S., we, as the so-called melting pot, you get to embody all the cultures that are around you.
Yeah.
Like even state by state, city by city, just in New Jersey alone. If there's even with music, right? Like there's culture in Jersey City, not just within the entire city, but literally within the different areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the culture in the Heights is going to be different than on the South Side. It's going to be different than the Lafayette, and in downtown's a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
Journal Square, just like you're probably commuting. It's kind of wild out there, right? But we get to embody so much around us because it's so close to us. And to your point, like you really don't have to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So my question with that leads me to like, do you, outside of like just the Ecuadorian heritage and the Filipino heritage, like are there nuances of Hoboken that you kind of see sticking that maybe you didn't realize? Like, oh, I didn't push that. That's just kind of something that was around us.
I think it's a mix of the history, right? I mean, you're gonna love this. Is like we're big on trains. For us,
now you got to tell me. Now you got to tell me.
Sophie, since she was little, she knew where the train station was.
Okay.
And I'm passionate about transit. I've always been, because I see it as something that brings opportunity for everyone. And Hoboken is that hub. You know, you can take the ferry, you can take the bus. You have a shuttle that used to be the crosstown bus, but it's just now it's called the Hop for years now. But that's an internal like shuttle system in Hoboken.
Yes.
You have the PATH train that takes you to New York, Journal Square, Newark, Harrison. You have NJ Transit there. And you have the waterfront, which in itself it's a connecting point to go into Jersey City, into Weehawken. And you have bikes, you have everything there.
Yeah.
So transit is a big thing, but Hoboken started with that. We started with the train systems. We started being that hub. And so Sophie, since the beginning, she was 3 years old, and she would say, I want to go that way. Why? Because the train is that way. And she knows her way around Hoboken and the parks. Yeah. We're big on parks, and it's funny, there's some people who just don't like change. Yeah. To the point that they're even saying, we have too many parks. But can you really have too many parks? Personally, I don't think you can have too many parks.
I want more. I like trees.
And I like trees, and I like to have more green. And when you see it also through a child's eyes, which is you know, hey, all right, we literally would go playground hopping. Yeah. We would go to different playgrounds within one day. Yeah, bro. And like you can't beat that. One is the memories that you build as a child, but also the stimulation that you have, not just as a child, but as an adult. Because sometimes having a child then forces you into having that. Yeah. And then you start, me having been raised in Hoboken, is me being able to teach her Hoboken and show people around Hoboken. So whenever somebody comes to Hoboken, and that was my first thing too. One thing is being raised in Hoboken, and then knowing the history and knowing where to take people. Oh yeah, man. And so I read up on my stuff. I'm like, nobody's gonna know more about Hoboken than I do. Yeah. Right? And so that was what I tried to do from the beginning. So it's being able to show, starting with my family, is being able to show Hoboken the history of, you know, having Frank Sinatra being that and that music from Frank Sinatra. Yeah. Having the communities, like the Italian community, the Irish community, the German communities, the Puerto Rican communities. Yes, sir. Then having the same seniors sitting outside City Hall and having those conversations, then putting some salsa music outside, still happening on Washington Street. Yeah. Something that I would like to bring more back, which is more live, like Latino music. But she's able to see all of that, and I'm able to take her through that. And she asks the questions too. It's like, what is that building? Yeah. Oh, that's City Hall. Okay. And then when I tell her where I'm going to have a meeting at City Hall, it clicks. Yes, I know where City Hall is. I know what happens there. Yeah. Where are you going? I'm going to have a meeting. Okay, Dad's going to go have a meeting. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's beautiful to hear the level of patience, effort, and
the intent you have when it comes to just educating her and embracing that curiosity. Because and you're so right about the parks, because literally when you said that, I had a flashback to when I was younger. I don't remember how old I was, or what summer this was. Maybe it was like 97 or something. I'm gonna go with 97. Maybe I was 10 years old. My aunt did that because it was like a summer where we didn't go to summer camp that year, and my aunt was kind of just hanging out with us most of the summer. And I remember one whole day, bro, we went to like 3 different parks around New Jersey. That was the crazy part. It wasn't even like one park. Like we went to one park that was maybe in Bloomfield. Maybe went to Branchbrook Park. Then we went to another park someplace other in Newark. And then I think we ended up at Liberty State Park. And like literally because of my aunt, I knew where all these parks were in New Jersey. Liberty State Park to this day has a huge spot in my heart because of it. And I can see it the same thing with Hoboken, because when I was in college, yeah, the waterfront, bro. You want to hang out? It's a nice night. Just go walk the waterfront. You don't even need something to do. And I love to see, like, so you don't just put the value and effort into teaching her about the cultures you grew up with, but also the cultures in which she's surrounded with where you live. Where did that curiosity kind of stem for you? Because you said you took it seriously. You read up. No one's going to know more about Hoboken than you. Going to show it to your friends and family. Like, what was the motivating factor behind just kind of having that knowledge?
So it goes back also to the root of the way that I approach community and just even politics.
Yeah.
I was, and some people that know me know that I was an undocumented immigrant for 11 years. And, I was able to see, just like many people, this is not exclusive to my story, but it's not to compare, it's to relate. I always tell people. I had everything in the world to say, I hate politics.
Yeah.
And just reject it. But instead, I decided to just run head on towards it.
Yeah.
And so the way that I see it is either we become frustrated and we do nothing, or we go in and we change it. In order to have that change, you need to have curiosity.
Yeah.
Because to me, one of my philosophies is that change starts with listening.
Yeah.
And that listening can be a listening that is just based on what I want to hear and what I want to have. It has to be about the curiosity of, why are these things happening?
Yeah.
And what's behind that issue? And so everything goes back to that curiosity. Is like, why are we? I got my own theories that when Hoboken started, it was owned by the Stevens family.
Oh, and yeah, I went to the school.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so my theory is because then they started giving out the plots to the city, it became a city, but they kept the area where the Stevens University, the Institute of Technology is. And my joke is, they're engineers, and they knew the rest of Hoboken floods, and they got the best part.
That's crazy,
because they wouldn't get flooded.
Yo, I mean, if it's yours,
crazy.
Right?
It's like,
keep
listen,
it.
I'm gonna keep the one that I know is not gonna get flooded.
It's still a generous give, though, right? One whole square mile effort.
It's still a beautiful city, and my mom lives on the west side of Hoboken. I grew up on the west side of Hoboken. I've lived through floodings, and as many of us have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that curiosity of, I want to make sure I know my stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know everything. I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on learning, and it's always about hearing the why behind what's happening and what people are pushing for.
Yeah.
And then figure out, if that doesn't match my values, what can we find as that connector to those values, so that we can be like, listen, I don't agree with you on this premise. And many times it can be very negative.
Yeah.
And just fundamentally we wouldn't agree. But there might be in many issues that I've come across with is, I'm able to grab to something that you can build a connection, because at the end of the day, we're all neighbors, we're all humans.
Yeah.
And on that human level, maybe we can connect.
That is true. I think that's inherently true. Like I wasn't an immigrant to the U.S., but growing up, I definitely had times where there were not many people that looked like me in an area, right? Whether I was going to school or it was a job. And what most people don't talk about is that sense of you can have a sense of not belonging there, right?
Yeah.
And until you're in that atmosphere and in that space, it's hard to get someone to realize, like, hey, in order for me to grow here, I had to be open to learning and adapt. And it kind of guided me to being that way with other people. Now, you said like you were undocumented for a while. Do you feel like during that time, how you were living or what you were going through kind of molded you into being open to understanding other people? Or like what were some of the things that kind of contributed to that?
It does have to do with upbringing, but it does. I mean, we as human beings, once it happens to us, we're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up your eyes. Right?
Yes, sir.
And you, if you're really learning, and if you, something I reject a lot is hypocrisy.
Mm.
And if you went through it and then you can't understand somebody that's going through something similar, then that's hypocrisy to me.
So that's okay.
What were you gonna say?
No. I think that's you make a very, very interesting point, right? Because the strongest form of learning something, truly identifying and understanding it, like you can have empathy. You can, if you're self-aware enough to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, empathy will help you get to understanding someone. But like you said, when you actually have hands-on experience and feel it physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it does change you. And it's ironic because when it comes to growth, I'm a firm believer you kind of have to let people mess up.
Yeah.
Not in a dangerous way. Like I don't want anyone to get injured, hurt, or do anything harmful to anyone else. But it's almost in a way where you have to be okay with messing up.
Yeah.
Not turning out the best way all the time.
And that there's Ernesto Ciroli, he has a big TED talk, and his premise is you want to help someone, shut up and listen. And also, if people don't want your help, leave them alone.
Oof.
And so you can tell them, and you can like, listen, this is something that can help you. You can't do it for them.
Yeah.
So you got to let them experience it. And then they're going to come back. It's like, can you believe this happened to me? It's like, yeah.
Yeah. How was it? Talk to me about it. What was your experience?
And that's going back even, I mean, we all go through it. We go through it as adults.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no age limit, but I also tend to go about it with my daughter listen, I'm going to say it, but I'm watchful.
Yeah.
But I don't need to let her go through it. And then when she does it and she turns around to me like, and I'm like, yeah. Just like that, how did that feel?
Yeah.
And then she said, and I told her, there was one point that I said, it's okay to feel that way. It's good that you felt that way. Because now you remember why you shouldn't do what you just did.
And that's it's something that as a mentor, and even as I don't know, what you want to call me, a manager or a leader or whatever it is, when it comes to working with my colleagues, my partners, and everybody, having the willingness to let go and say, okay, they have to learn this. Like if they mess up, okay, I'm here, we can fix it, but I have to let you go. And I have to put you in a place to learn to trust yourself and learn from your mistakes and build upon it. And the key for me, which I think can be the hardest, is like if there comes a point where they do learn the lesson, maybe it doesn't turn out and they have to grow from it, just being supportive and listening, like you said.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, and let's be honest, I mean, I've been guilty of it. You know something's going to turn out not so great. Someone doesn't want to listen to you. They do it anyway. It doesn't turn out great, and then you become the I told you so person.
Yeah.
And I've learned, like, in doing that, like, me personally, I never liked when someone said I told you so. It hit me. It was ego-led, where you're like, hey, I don't need you to tell me I'm wrong. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And just kind of backing off and being like you said, well, yeah, man, how'd that feel? that sucked. It didn't turn out how we liked. All right, process that, and then
What are we gonna
what
do?
are we gonna do next?
Yeah.
Like, what did we learn from it?
And you know, that's what I learned in my second job. So my first job was an unpaid job. Let me back it up a little bit. So my first job was cleaning houses.
Okay.
Right. My dad was sick with ALS. I had to step up, work with my mom, and we cleaned homes in Hoboken. And while I was in college, I was like, all right, I want to implement what I'm learning. So I looked up an Ecuadorian nonprofit, and I found it. I became the executive director of the nonprofit, volunteer work.
Yes, sir.
But I got to one network experience, and that connected me to my second job, which was at a marketing agency. And Marcelo Rodriguez, he was the head of the marketing agency, boutique in New York. We did multicultural marketing. We worked with nonprofits, governments. And so what I learned there was doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But also was the environment that I have built ever since, which is it's okay to make mistakes. All right, we messed up. What are we going to do now?
Yes, sir.
All right, we didn't work out how we wanted it. What we're going to do next? How are we going to make it better?
Yeah.
Like it's just a solving mentality.
Yeah.
Because if we're too afraid to even get it started, even try it, then we never even. The worst thing is not even messing up.
Yeah.
The worst thing is like, all right, it's just gonna eat you inside because you never even tried the idea that you want it. So that's when I've ran for office a few times. It's because I'm always all right. I want to make change. I know structural change happens at the government level because that brings a whole community change.
Yeah.
Let me run for office. It didn't work the first time. All right. Next day, I'm at it again. What can we do differently?
Yeah.
And then I went to 33%, and then I went to 47%. So it's a buildup. But if you give up the next day, then it was.
Oh, you can't even. Yeah, because that is a part no one talks about, right? Yeah. Is like no one highlights the losses. No one ever talks about how the value of their losses until they win, which to me is almost like shortchanging people of the true value you have. Because winning, like if it took you 8 losses to get to 1 win, all the value you gained over those 8 losses were the reason you won. Yeah. But most people are like, nah, bro. I just need that win, and if it works, we know it works. I don't need to leave, and it kind of it leaves a if you do succeed that quickly, and no, we see it through entertainers, athletes. If you win quickly without having the time to learn and grow, that trend starts to go downward. You don't necessarily keep winning. You don't keep growing because I know what winning feels like, and this is what I did to win. I don't need to change or adapt it. If I just keep doing it, it'll grow. Whereas someone that has had loss. Someone has had adversity and said, you know what, I don't want this anymore. There's got to be another way. Maybe I have to keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing, keep going. It's going to put you in a place that will allow you to become the person you need to achieve the goals in which you have. And I think the one point I want to make is I got to get your opinion on this. I was talking to my boy Tyson the other day. And we were talking about how quickly life is growing and the decisions we have to make. No one talks about, like, no matter how much older you get or how experienced you get, decision making is never easy. No. Like, literally, like, you can, whether you're buying something, whether you're buying a car, you're moving, those are the big ones. Those are like, oh, good Lord, this is going to change the course of my life possibly. But, like, even making big decisions never gets easy when it comes to it. So, like, through this stuff, like you said, one of your first big, like, you got into the executive director position of the nonprofit, and then you got into marketing. Like, what were those decisions like when it came to, okay, I'm cleaning houses, I'm getting into the nonprofit position, and now I'm getting marketing? Like, what were the feelings behind those big decisions in your life and, like, determining where you are now?
It's figuring out your passion. I think I mentioned earlier is I love storytelling. Yeah. And so I learn a lot through stories. And when a problem comes up, I'm like, let me see if there's any stories of anybody else that has gone through something similar. Okay. And when my dad would always make me read books that would say, all right, well, if you want to get to somewhere, you have to experience it. You have to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I wanted to do something community driven. That's why I looked for a nonprofit. What's my first connection? Well, I'm passionate about the Ecuadorian community because that's my first connector.
There you go.
I went over there, and then what was funny was there was a rupture in the organization as I came in. And then everybody left because there was just a big argument, and it was 6 of us.
Oh, my God.
And it's like, oh, by the way, next year we have to come up with 5 scholarships. Who's going to be in charge? And I was just like, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I just got in. And then I had to figure out, well, this happened because the rules were not clear. People were relying on bylaws, and the bylaw didn't say that when this specific things happen, this is the result. So that's why there was a dispute and people left. So I said, all right, what's out there that I can learn from? And I came across this, one of my reference in terms of urban policy, which is Antanas Mocos, is a former mayor of Bogota in Colombia. And he was a philosopher and mathematician.
Okay.
And he became mayor of Bogota. And he came in terms of changing people's mentalities. And also he put something together, which his theory was, we behave a certain way because of social pressures too.
Okay.
Right? And so sometimes there's peer pressure in a negative way.
Yes.
We can do peer pressure in a positive way.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like rewarding. You know? And so he implemented that to change people's behaviors from something negative as like not stopping from somebody crossing the street to make it into something positive. And so, and he also said, you establish the environment right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so I just started going in depth into that philosophy. And what I did was in terms of the organization was I established the values when you come in. So you come into this space, we expect you to respect each other. We expect you to, we have some expectations as a group, and people came in with that mentality. And then also each one of us is the one that there's no paperwork that we're going to, no, it's each one of us that we're going to regulate each other. If somebody was rude to somebody else, it is up to each one of us to step up and have a conversation with that person. See, bro, that was messed up.
Yeah, self-regulation.
So it's regulating each other and having those conversations, but approaching it as listen, we agreed. When we approach each other with respect. And you just yelled at somebody. And so by doing that, we were able to build a group of 30 volunteers that worked on the organization and just kept it growing. And then I stepped off and I went to the next thing. But it's that sense of purpose that I've always aligned it is my passion for community, my passion for making a society that's more inclusive for people of all incomes, ages, and abilities. Building that mantra, like for me, that's a mantra. It's me, like, all right, this is my North Star. That's what I want to accomplish. This is my why.
Yes.
I didn't land on that why 15 years ago. It evolved.
Yeah.
Time over time, I kept writing it down. I was like, all right, this is my mantra. It got me somewhere, and then I'm like, well, I've learned so much. I've heard from so many people.
Yeah.
I already accomplished a certain way of thinking that now this phrase and this mantra of 3 or 4 words that gave me the why has evolved to this level.
Yeah.
And so it's not, we live life through moments, and you cannot say, well, I'm accomplished already. Or I already, like you said, like the winning, right? It's like, I wanted the winning. It's like, but there are many moments that you could lose.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And that you can win.
Yeah.
So you have to count both your wins and learn from your losses. But you have to count those smaller wins, because if you don't, nobody else is going to.
Absolutely.
You have to be able to voice it, and you have to be able to acknowledge it, and you have to be able to give yourself props for the wins.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a huge act that most of us don't communicate on. I mean, you gave me a lot, so I'm going to dig in a little bit. But I know you gave me you hit on so many valuable pieces of what it takes that most people are looking for. Not what it takes to be successful, but what most of us are looking for, right? Like when you talk to a lot of people, they'll say, well, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know where I want to be. And for you, it wasn't like you just opened and discovered it. You said, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go learn more. I'm going to expose myself. And as you continue to do that, your desire and your passion continue to evolve. Like you said, I want to get involved in my community. Well, what's my community? Well, I know about Ecuador. Cool. Boom. We're going to start here. It didn't start where you were like, I want to get involved in my community. I'm going to run for office. Yeah. Like you were like, well, let me go figure out how my community works, what people like, what people don't, how I can get involved. Let me learn some processes, and it allow you to grow. And I think it's a big attribute of why you are the way you are and have that sense of thinking, of learning from your losses and encountering those smaller wins, because it took you time to get to the point where you are now. And I think it's interesting because I've never, like, even though I'm at where I'm at now, continuously growing, grateful every day. Like, my life is beyond insane, but I'm grateful for every minute of it. Yeah. There are so many days where it's tough to get out of bed, whether you're exhausted, you're tired, you got a battle ahead of you, and there's going to be stretches of that. And we don't realize, like, the way to keep going is gratitude. Being happy for those small wins. Like, I remember, I'll never forget it. I started just being grateful for getting close parking spots. Like, I'll never forget it. It was like, people like, you always get a close spot. I'm like, thank you, God. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, close spot. Come home from work late at night. Oh, spot right in front of the house. Thank you. I must have been doing something right. I got this spot. And then they continue to grow that by the time you get to the big ones, like, the joy and the gratitude you have overshadow all the work. And my buddy Tyson, he said to me the other day, don't not continue your journey because the path getting there is rough. Like, maybe you have to go that way because it needs to teach you something, or maybe you're holding on how it should be instead of just accepting how it is and keep moving forward. And it resonated with me because when I look at my life, nothing was always just a straight line, or if it was, I never saw that straight line until I actually got there. Right? Trying to figure out which way I wanted to go at each point, and realizing, like, hey, like, almost fighting it instead of just going with the flow. And it seems that during your process, you kind of just went with the flow of what you wanted to do. And a big valuable part I wanted to point out, seeing opportunity in times of struggle is huge. Because like you said, you came in this nonprofit, little kerfuffle, whatever anyone wants to call it, and it's just a few people left, and you're like, oh God, what are we gonna do? Right? A lot of people would have been like, no, I'm done. I'm going home. I can watch some shows. I don't need this drama. But you were willing to say, oh no, okay, this happened. It's not the end of the world. Let's fix it. How do we get more people to kind of view things that way? Not be so fearful of something being in necessarily not the greatest spot, and say, you know what? Okay, it's not that big of a deal. We can grow from this.
There's a phrase that I like, which is, you got to let your own light shine bright. Then you give other people the roadmap for them to shine their own light. Also.
Okay.
And so,
all right.
And you mentioned gratitude. For me, gratitude, I'm grateful that, many of the things I've done, people are watching because I'm also very public about it. And that's just also part of the strategy. Is like, I wanted people to know what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, my struggles, my wins, my fears, everything. Just be open.
Yeah.
And you take what you need and run with it. And I've had so many people that come up to me, is like, I saw when you did this and then I did that. I'm like, great. You ran for office, I'm running for office. Okay, well, how can I help you?
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, is like, that person can't run for office. And I'm like, who the hell am I to tell someone they should not run for office?
Yeah.
And who the hell are you to tell someone they can run for office? So
seriously.
You lead by example.
Yeah.
Again, you cannot tell people what to do, but by showing people that it is possible, other people's follow, right? And I do that at the professional level too. You do it with mentorships.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm a big believer on mentorships. I did Big Brother, Big Sister program back in the day. and I've done mentorships throughout, and it's always about you do well, but you also are showing the roadmap.
Oh yeah.
And then people, and I always tell people, listen, you don't have to start from scratch. Start from where I'm at.
Yes.
And you don't have to be at the position I'm at. You can be farther than me.
Yes.
A lot quicker than me.
Come on now. Yes.
Do it. And so it's always, and I mentioned to you the schoolwork, right? And how I was like, all right, I did my schoolwork. I learned. I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're missing many times is that many of us are constant students and not doers.
Ooh, that's a deep one. That is a deep one because I think, yeah, it's a lot more fun and safe. No, I don't want to say fun. That's a lie. It's so much more fun to do. It's a lot safer, to be a student because you get the joy of discovering something new and understanding something new without the risk of execution. And yeah, we can all get lost in it. I got lost in it. I'll never forget it. It was a big part of my life where I used to come home. I remember I was used to come home every night and watch YouTube videos of people doing the things they loved. And after a while, I'd be like, I don't want to watch this anymore. And I'm like, this is boring. They're doing awesome stuff. And like I found myself talking about other stuff the things other people were doing. And I'm like, but I'm not doing it. And I'm like, well, how do I do this? And ironically enough, because I'd watched someone do this, I was like, oh, I need to buy this. I need to go here and I do it. But there's so much, how do you say this? There's no rewind in real life. And that makes us feel unsafe when it comes to trying new things. Like I love camping. For a long time, I only went to select camp spots that other people took me to. And so I got to the point I was like, nah, forget this. Like I want to go see some wild stuff. I want to try. I want to do road trips. I drove to Key West. Like I went to the southernmost part in the U.S., drove back up. I went to off-roading with my truck. Like not because it was like, oh, I think this is cool. It's like I want to see what the hype is. I want to see what I can learn. How can it affect me and how it can grow? And there is a big fear part in it if you've never done it. But it kind of leads me to that thing of one of the greatest things you can do to set yourself free in this world is facing your fears. So like with everything that you've done, man, I can only imagine like the hurdles you've had to overcome. But what were some of the fears you had to face to kind of really get your foot in the game and kind of like you said, get involved?
There's always that fear. I mean, one of the scariest things is putting your name out there and saying, hey, vote for me.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of like when you have those dreams that you're like, I went to school and I didn't have my homework, or you have a bad dream that you're like, oh man, I forgot to put clothes on, right? It's like it's that fear of you're putting yourself out there and you're depending on somebody else, and in terms of are they going to select me or not? And so my fear the first election was, is anybody going to vote for me? And some people did.
Yeah.
I didn't get a big percentage, but the first election was like, okay, well, at least I got some people.
Yeah, somebody
likes me. And then and it's like, right, let's do that again.
Yeah.
But people get used to that idea, right? And so it's and there, I mean, the next election, people are like, all right, when are we signing petitions? They're already in that motion of, all right, we know you did it last time and you're doing it again. All right, let me know.
Yeah.
Like, we're ready. And so people have to know that you're for real. That you're not just messing with their time, that you actually doing something for the long term. But yeah, it's that one of those big hurdles, big fears was doing something and then putting yourself out there. And I guess we're all afraid of others are not going to show up for me the way I'm showing up for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's one of them.
Sheesh.
But there's I mean, I think it's the fear of being. I think there could be a fear of being wrong. And the way I personally overcome that is it's the confidence of being honest and saying, "Hey, I messed up. I didn't know."
Mm.
I've gotten that.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people are like, "Well," and I don't endorse people lightly.
Yeah.
I don't recommend people lightly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes somebody asks me for a recommendation. I'm like, "Listen, I don't know you that well."
Yeah.
And that's my name going out there. And so even though like, for example, me being involved in a group, and then the group has to make a group decision about supporting a candidate, and then the candidate doesn't deliver, doesn't stay on their word, and then some people are like, "Why did you do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wish that we didn't, and we learn from our mistakes and we keep walking."
Yeah.
But if we didn't take a chance, we didn't take a stance, we don't know. You test relationships, you try out relationships.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out. You got to be upfront about it. It's like, listen, we thought it would work out. It didn't. We grow.
Yeah. So it's almost like the message to most people out there is try the water. No, jump on in. The water's fine. Even if you don't like it, it's not that bad.
Yeah. I also like to think about it as the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, he was an amazing swimmer. He was raised in by the ocean in Ecuador, and he strongest person I've ever met. And he would tell me about how different it is to swim in the ocean versus swimming in a pool.
Yeah, the currents, yeah.
And so he would tell me, "Is like, listen, life is like the ocean. It's like you want to go in a straight line, and then the current is telling you, nope,
Bro.
There's this way, there's that way.
Wow.
I know you want to get to that point,
Yeah.
but the ocean has its own ways.
Jeez.
And so you have to ride through the waves. You have to ride through the currents, and in order to get to that point. So it's about making sure when to push, when to stand your ground, when to just go with it, but just be flexible, because that's life. It's like the ocean.
Sheesh. I mean, I don't even want to go any further anymore with this show. I'm almost done. I'm almost gonna need my time at this point. I mean, that's I really like that. It's like swimming in the ocean, because I mean, not only just how much my life it can connect to that saying, but just any life in general is going with the flow.
Yeah.
Is one of the most difficult things that we do as humans, right? We want to control, we want a little predictability, but we want to achieve our goals. And we have these maps that we lay out of how we'll get there. And rarely is it a straight line. It's going to be zigzags up and down. You got to jump over something, may have to change the map at a point, right? And we don't realize, like, it's still the experience. You're still here. You're still in the game. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Just keep swimming, man. I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, I want to kind of end it on that. I like that line, bro. We're not even going to go any further. Ron, man, it's a pleasure having you back, man. And just hearing more of this side of you. I love it. I learned a lot.
Amazing.
And I'm definitely going to have you back on and learn some more, because I feel like you have a brain of analogies and wisdom that I think our listeners would enjoy. I know I enjoyed it. But always what we do, bro. Before you leave, that's all your camera over there. Take a look in there. Let them know what you got going on and where people can check you out.
Yeah, so you can always find me on Bautista on all platforms. And we have our The Change podcast that we release an episode every month. It's about talking on the change that we want to see in our communities, and you're always welcome to go to ronbautistanj.com/thechange and check out our conversations. We're always thinking of not just the change we want to see, but also the people that inspire that change, and we're elevating other people as well as we go along it.
Beautiful, man. Well, sir, I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see everything that you're going to be doing. And just putting out there, man. We're definitely going to have you come back, talk more to the people. So if you guys enjoyed what you saw here today, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You can check out in the description below for all of Ron's contacts, connects, and links. Be sure to follow up with him if he sparked any interest in the things that you're doing and he's doing, and you want to follow up along. Check him out, see what he's doing, show some support. And if you want, you're curious, get involved, right? But you guys know what it is. We always appreciate you guys here to State Aloud. As always, nothing but love. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.